The village of Iriti had always known fear, but for the first time, they saw hope in Ifunanya's eyes. Yet that hope came with a dangerous curiosity. She wasn't content with merely surviving Age Oru's nightly torment, she wanted to end it. Days passed, but each night the same rules were followed. The villagers shut their windows, bolted their doors, and lit their candles as the sun disappeared, fearful of the creature's whispers. Ifunanya, however, could not forget the moment her grandmother had silently warned her. Who or what was this Age Oru? And why did it target their village? The elders' secrets. Ifunanya knew that the elders of the village held secrets. They had lived through generations of terror, and many had scars to prove it. After that fateful night, she sought counsel from the village's oldest elder, Mama Agba, who was said to be over 100 years old. She lived in the farthest hut at the edge of Iriti, near the dense forest where the whispers were strongest. Ifunanya, Mama Agba asked when the young woman arrived, "You've come seeking knowledge. But some things are better left buried in the earth." "I need to know, Mama," Ifunanya insisted. "This village is trapped. We live like prisoners every night, afraid to even open our windows. What is Age Oru, and why does it haunt us?" Mama Agba sighed, her frail body sinking deeper into her chair. She motioned for Ifunanya to sit, then whispered, "You must understand, child, Age Oru is not of this world. It is a shadow spirit, a creature born from the fears of men, but it was caught here by blood." "Blood?" Ifunanya echoed, confused. Long ago, before Iriti was a village, the land belonged to another tribe, the Igan people. They were a proud and powerful people, known for their connection to the spirits. But their power came at a price. Age Oru was summoned during a great war, a weapon to turn the tide in their favor. The creature was bound to the land by an ancient ritual. It served them, at first. But after the war, they could not control it. It grew hungry for more than just their enemies. Mama Agba's eyes darkened as she continued, it devoured their own, turning on the very people who had summoned it. In desperation, the Igan sealed Age Oru in the forest with powerful magic. But over time, the magic weakened. When our ancestors settled here, they unknowingly broke the seal. And now, it is free. Ifunanya felt a chill crawl up her spine. Why hasn't anyone tried to stop it? Why does everyone hide instead of fighting? Because no one knows how, Mama Agba replied. And those who tried, never returned. Into the forest. Ifunanya, now armed with the truth, refused to accept that nothing could be done. The village couldn't live under the shadow of Age Oru forever. Determined to break the curse, she decided to venture into the forest where the creature had first been summoned. Her grandmother pleaded with her not to go, as did many villagers who heard of her plan, but Ifunanya's resolve was unshakable. "You're mad," her childhood friend, Emeka, said when she told him. "No one who enters that forest comes back. The trees themselves whisper with the voices of the dead. Age Oru's domain is not for the living. If we do nothing, we'll never be free," Ifunanya replied. "I can't live in fear every night, Emeka. I need to know what we are really facing." After much convincing, Emeka reluctantly agreed to join her. He had known her since they were children, and despite his fear, he couldn't let her face the darkness alone. The two set out just before sunset, carrying only a few supplies and a lantern to guide their way. As they approached the edge of the forest, an unnatural stillness fell over the air. No birds, no rustling of leaves, nothing. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for them. "Are you sure about this?" Emeka whispered, his voice trembling. "We have to be," Ifunanya replied, though her heart pounded in her chest. She gripped the small talisman her grandmother had given her, an old charm meant to ward off spirits. Whether it would work against Age Oru, she wasn't sure, but it was the only protection she had. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to twist and warp, their branches curling like skeletal fingers. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and every now and then, they heard faint whispers, voices that sounded eerily familiar. Ifeananya, a voice called, soft and distant. It was her mother's voice again. Ifeananya, help me. She clenched her fist, refusing to be swayed. Ignore it, she told Emeka. It's not real. But the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were no longer just her mother's voice. Emeka heard his own father, who had passed years before. The voices called out from the shadows, pulling at their hearts, filling them with dread. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, and a cold wind swept through the forest, carrying the unmistakable sound of laughter, low and malevolent. It was Age-Oru, watching, waiting. We need to go back. Emeka shouted, panic rising in his voice. No. We are close, I can feel it. Ifeananya insisted, pushing forward. Just as they reached a clearing, they saw it, a large, stone altar, overgrown with vines and moss. At its base, strange carvings lined the earth, symbols that seemed to pulse with dark energy. This was where Age-Oru had been summoned. But before they could take another step, the ground erupted, and out of the shadows stepped a tall, twisted figure. Its body was shrouded in darkness, its face a void, yet its eyes burned with a sickly yellow light. It was the Age-Oru, and it was more terrifying than any nightmare. You dare enter my domain, it hissed, its voice shifting between the tones of their loved ones. You think you can stop me? Ifeananya stood frozen, but then something within her stirred, a defiance that would not be silenced. Holding up her grandmother's talisman, she stepped forward. We are not afraid of you anymore, she said, though her voice trembled. The creature laughed, a sound that echoed through the trees, rattling their bones. You should be, it whispered, before lunging forward with inhuman speed. The final battle. What happened next would be remembered in Iriti for generations. Ifeananya and Emeka fought not with weapons, but with their will, their courage, and the knowledge passed down from the elders. The battle against Age-Oru was not just physical, it was a war of the mind, resisting the whispers, the illusions, and the memories that the creature used to weaken them. But Ifeananya knew the key to stopping it lay within the ritual site. As Emeka distracted the creature, she traced the carvings on the ground, reciting the ancient words that Mama Agba had taught her, words that could bind Age-Oru once more. With a final, deafening scream, Age-Oru was pulled back into the shadows, the forest trembling as the creature was sealed away once more. When Ifeananya and Emeka returned to the village, battered but alive, the sun was rising. The whispers had stopped. For the first time in generations, the people of Iriti opened their windows at dawn, unafraid. But as Ifeananya looked back toward the forest, she knew the battle was not truly over. The shadows always return.